Alright, I'm going to show you what some of the numbers on all these cards do. Let's start with the green helmet, which is probably the most important part of the game because the green helmet is what we use momentum cost for. If there's a green helmet at the top of the card, that tells you that it's a card that costs but also will provide you momentum. If the green helmet's in the middle of the card, it's a cost but it will not give you momentum. So let's look at our game board. Let's say this is my offense side and this is our defense side, and I've got the ball. Let's say it's my second possession of the first quarter. We completely ignore this side of the board game because we're only focused on offense. So let's look. Green helmet at the top three. Green helmet at the top three. I've got these two players in play. That means they're each going to provide me 3 momentum for a total of 6. Now these guys, 2, 5, and 5, that's cost. I would have had to pay those costs in previous rounds. So what do I do with this 6 momentum? Well, let's say I want to bring out a second lineman. That cost me 3. Now next turn, when I get another possession, I'll have 3, 6, 9 to spend. Pretty nice. But for the sake of this round, can I afford him? No, I can't. Can I afford him? Yes. Spend 2. Bam. Now I've got a 4th offensive player. Now next turn, these guys, let's say I throw all my players at my opponent to try and score. Well, next turn with my 3, 6, 9 momentum, we click our globe, 9 momentum, I can spend that momentum to untap. There's 5, there's 6, 7, there's 8, 9. And now I'm down to 0. Fortunately, can't afford to untap him, so he won't be available to try and score this turn, but that's why the momentum exists. So let's say, rewind it, I'm trying to score against my opponent, and he has his own players, and he lines them up. Let's see, I need one more. He lines them up how he wants to block, because the defending player gets to choose how the blocks are unless the offensive player does something that changes that. Well, this is where these next set of numbers come in. Let's say I have Jackson here I'm trying to score with, and he covers him with Smith. Now, first number is skill, second number is endurance, third number is overall. We don't need the momentum cost for this part of the game. It basically comes down to, is Deshaun Jackson's skill greater than Smith's? Yes, he is. So he's a good enough receiver to get open and catch the ball. How many yards does he get when he catches the ball? That's this bottom number, their overall. Overall rating can be looked at sort of as a, what can you do once you get the ball? And in this case, this is a 12 yards. So Jackson would score 12 yards over the course of the drive. Then we look at the second arrow, points our skill at endurance. We look at that as if your endurance, if you're fragile and you're struggling to cover someone who's very skilled, you may pull a muscle. I can probably go out there and tackle Jackson, but he's obviously a lot better athlete than me, so he's so much faster. He's definitely stronger. I would possibly twist an ankle, pull a muscle, maybe break a knee, trying to tackle him. I can probably do it, but I'd hurt myself. And in the NFL, some players, when they're barely making the tackle, sometimes they get a concussion or they get whatever, and if this skill is greater than the endurance, then that player goes to the bench. So if something happened and a player gets benched, do we even have a guy, he's a 7, there we go. If this matchup was happening, 7-6 to this 4-7, well, boom, graveyard. Well, it's not graveyard, the bench. He's now on the bench until he can recover from his injury or his, sometimes they just get winded, sometimes just out of wind. So you compare the first number to see if they gain yards, look at the last number, how many yards do they gain, and then decide, in this case, neither player would get benched. 3-4 to 6-4, because in some instances, the defensive player just jacks up the offensive player and sends him to the bench. And these numbers in the middle, these are activated costs. This 1 means 1 momentum. So if you want this ability to happen, you have to have 1 momentum. Looking at our board, I don't. After having to pay to untap everybody, well, in this case, Drew Brees' cost is 0. So I could pay him. Who has activated? Anybody? Nope. He has one. He has one that costs 6. So if the defensive player doesn't have 6 momentum, he cannot pay that ability. And that's pretty much it. If you have any questions, ask, leave in the comments. Thanks for watching.